park 30.
Between West and West.
This is Tuesday, June 24th, 2025. Meeting number 545 of the Woodbridge Park Commission, Holiday Inn, Woodbridge, New York. And our introduction today is Aaron Bonhauser, our new rep from DEC. Who's be here for you?
A lot of years left.
And you will love it better in the wintertime when you're driving down the
Yes.
Item 2, approval of meeting minutes and fiscal actions. Upon approval of the meeting minutes for April 2025.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Motion made, seconded. Any comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Hearing no nays? Passed. Approval of fiscal actions report April 2025 and May 2025.
So, second.
Move second. All in favor? Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Hearing no nays? Carried. Project review action report. Vice Chairman Stanton.
Resolution 2025-25, accept budget review action report. Whether the commission has received and reviewed the project review action report prepared by the staff and dated June 7, 2025, whether the project review committee is recommended by the section of the project review action report. Now therefore be resolved that the be incorporated in the minutes of the full commission. So moved. Second.
Motion's made, motion second. Any comments? All in favor?
Aye.
And that is passed. Number 4, dock variance. We have one dock variance and Randy, sure.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We have one applicant. They are looking to put in both outside of on a neighboring dock on the same property a couple of years ago. They've, I guess, expressed or shown necessary hardship, damage to the boats and whatnot. And I believe Mr. Dooley is here to speak. Anything else to add? Go ahead. Step up to the mic.
Yes, we're just asking, we've had a lot of problems with the boats hitting the dock. We've tried everything. Right now we have double whips on the boat and it's dangerous. We have to, basically the only way we can get on the boat is pull it in and jump to over the ropes and the whips to get on the boat at this time. My wife has already fallen in the lake this time already, so it's telling me to do. So we're asking if you please give us a variance so we can put up the boat lift.
Whips are no fun.
No, not at all, especially with double whips.
Yeah. You don't know until you try it. Almost becomes a voting impossibility.
So if anybody has any questions, I'll try to answer for you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Feel free to sit down. Anybody here comment on this or again? Do we have a resolution?
Yes, no problem. Although we did visit the site, we've been there,
You're right.
we've been there a couple of times, and as Randy mentioned, the neighbor had the same sort of requirement. And I think we're very familiar with it. The question from staff, Randy put together the drone. So we have a new drone, which is great. Randy's our licensed operator. So we put together a couple of those things. So not every commissioner can make the site visit. So you would like those pretty much for the project. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
They're good even when we do the site.
Yes.
It's really nice to be able to take it in. Yeah. Thank you.
One question in terms of the remainder of that particular area. Does it become a point where, like, if every single person asks for that, which I know all the docks aren't the same, is there a limit to the variances that would be safety oriented or not? If more people came in from that whole association?
location.
Yeah, that association.
Tom did ask about because he knew I flew the drone. He asked about and saw the imagery. He asked about navigation the navigation channel. And I believe with the width being out where it is, I think it's on the lift, it's actually closer to the dock. Another, as far as other navigation, I don't see, I don't know, Lieutenant Johns would speak to that. I don't know if that would be an issue or not. If there were additional ones, I think those are the only two bolts at the end of the F docks.
One already has to live.
Right.
Yes.
So I don't know if there's additional capacity. I don't believe there is, but.
Thank you.
You all set? Anybody else? Comments? Resolution.
Resolution 2025-26, approved boat lift variance application. Application number is DWM 254056. Applicant is Francis Mondo. Whereas the applicant has applied for a variance to add a boat lift at a location greater than 40 feet from the mean low water mark, and the Lake Shore Park Commission has reviewed the application supporting documents, comments received, and other information which appears in the record, and the commission has made a determination pursuant to 6 NYS 645-3.6 and the State Environmental Quality Review Act of 6 NYS CRR 6.7.5 that the project is a type 2 action, does not require any further potential impact pursuant to this act, and whereas the action is a minor project pursuant to 6 NYS CRR 645-5.3. Public notice has been published and distributed consistent with the regulations, and whereas the applicant has requested a variance from 646-1.1C2I, the maximum allowed distance of any dock or lift can be no more than 40 feet from the mean low water mark, and whereas the applicant has demonstrated that strict conformance with the regulations will cause unnecessary hardship, various circumstances which impose financial, technical, safety burdens. Whereas the commission finds there is no reasonable possible that the applicant's property will bring a reasonable return following performance of the regulations, and whereas the commission finds that the project will have no adverse impact on the health, safety, or welfare of the public, the environment, or the resources of the park, will not alter the essential character of the area in which it is proposed, will not lead to congestion in the park, and will not have an undue visual, cultural, or automotive impact on the inlet or the park. Now therefore be resolved, the Lake Shore Park Commission hereby approves the above application as proposed. So moved.
Move. Second. Second. Any conversation, comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Hearing no nays, it's carried. Thank you. Item number 5 is our 2025 Lake George Recreation Study. For those of you who don't quite remember, Lake George Park Commission did a rec study of the use of the lake, etc. in 2005, and we then repeated that in 2015. So mathematically, 2025 told us that maybe we ought to take a look at it again. And the importance of this, of course, is to figure out how we're using the lake, how our local residents using the lake, how our town folks using the lake, what kind of boats are on the lake, all that good kind of information that just gives the Park Commission grounds of advice over the next number of years. And glad to have Tracy Clothier, who's the gal who's running the point on this and gathering the information. Turn it over to you.
Thank you. So we're going to make a presentation behind you. You might want to move a little. I have no idea if these will. Does anybody know how to turn the lights down on this? Randy, you're asking.
I think it was the last time. Got left.
Oh, nice. Perfect.
Pretty smart.
Not a good priority.
Yep.
Second thoughts.
Hi everyone, Kirsten Cavalier from Studio Y, and Jeff Anthony as well, and then Tracy Clothier. It is Jump right in. So there's three main study objectives to our project here. The first one is data collection and analysis. So basically, we're going to provide an analysis of current recreational boating and general use trends on the lake. The second one is the recreation perception study, and that's assessing the user perceptions of their recreational experience on Lake George. And then the third is to do a surface use assessment, which includes evaluating the overall capacity of Lake George for safe and enjoyable use. And I'll let Tracy get into all the details on those three.
Well, first of all, thanks everybody for coming out today in this hot weather that we're not accustomed to. We like cold, rainy weather, right? Windy, rainy. So, happy to see you all. Thank you. So the first part of this report is in data, the collection and analysis of data, which will come from 10 years of Marine Patrol reports, boat registrations, dock registrations, marina permits, recreation use permits, boat inspection reports, boat rental data where it's available, launch information and camping and day use statistics from DEC. So 10 years of that, and we'll compare it to the years before. All right, the second part of this study is a public recreation opinion survey. This will go live today. Here it is. It's right here, and we'll provide some copies to people. And what you'll find is that the link itself on the paper copies, which will be posted at marinas, the chambers, the municipal sites, the Lake George Park Commission website, etc. These will be, you'll just have to point your camera to the QR code and scan it. You don't need the QR code application. Simply take your camera and the survey comes right up from that. So these will be active. I'll begin to distribute them today. And I believe it'll be on the Park Commission website today or shortly thereafter. Okay. And we'll distribute the posters to about 80 sites around the lake, if you can believe it. There's a lot of places to go. We'll also use email blasts from the Park Commission registrations wherever people provided their emails. And the municipal websites most of them have email lists and newsletters. LGA is helping to distribute, as is the Land Conservancy. The marinas we've contacted are very much supportive of the whole study, and will put up posters and distribute them if they have email lists. The Chamber of Commerces are all very involved. And homeowners associations around the lake. I've forgotten how many, but I think there's 23. And that'll be a great way to get it around. And then, as you know, there's several boat Facebook and other sites where we will try to get to and post this poster itself and get to people. Surface use assessment is the third part of the study, and this is where we concentrate on where are the boats going on peak use days, where are the boat highways, where are they congested in bays and what have you. And for this we're going to use a helicopter flyover, which will begin July 5th, which is Saturday, the day after July 4th, but it will be in the afternoon, somewhere around 1:30 to 3:30, where it's peak, and all we can do is hope for good weather. It's all about the weather, where you get, peak use on the lake, and that's what we're interested in, is getting as close to that as possible. We will repeat that on Labor Day, again, depending on the weather, so that we can compare peak times. And in between, we're going to look at non-peak days. Right? We're going to look at, what's going on out there when it's not busy, because that's when people do come out and you see different behaviors in voting. We will accomplish that by using Marine Patrol and using drones. We have several drones, and I hear the Park Commission has one, so we'll be able to use that. And we'll concentrate on some of the bays that are, that have reputation, shall we say, of being congested. And, we also will use some volunteers. And I was thinking today that probably the best way to do this is to break the lake up into 4 different categories, and North, Middle, Bolton, and Lake George Village, and really concentrate on those over certain weekends. And, again, depending on weather, but looking at, what's really going on deeply inside those bays and those areas. And we'll use this map, which we used in 2015, and I believe was used in 2005, similar map. And this will allow us to compare the numbers of boats in these zones, specific zones. Give us a pretty good idea. So we have another opportunity for figuring out where boats are on the lake. We are potentially partnering with the Lake George Chamber of Commerce and using Zartico data, which is, it's interesting, it's GPS data that tracks your cell phone. Now, not private information, obviously, that's not permitted by law. It's really just, you'll be able to track, or they will be able to track, using GPS, cell phone data, Wi-Fi positioning, or cellular towers, that kind of thing, to figure out where everybody with a cell phone, we know everybody does, where they are on the lake at one time and day and time, right? So that would be interesting because it would negate, going out there all the time and trying to figure this out. So we have a meeting next week to see whether this is a viable option for us to carry on this summer, and we're grateful to the Chamber of offering that potential technology. It's very expensive, and so we're cautiously looking at how we could utilize this in our study. So we have public outreach is included today. This meeting. We will have a second meeting probably in November or December to present the findings of all of it and listen to the comment. Today we will be taking comment after this presentation. The schedule was that we did all our planning this first 6 months of this year. We're collecting data throughout. And then we have the meeting today. We had interviews with elected officials. All 9 of them around the lake have contributed their ideas and their issues about boat use in their communities. We also have interviewed probably 20 marina holders, owners and managers around the lake to get their perspectives. Obviously, it's up to last year and what trends they were seeing and what they thought we should be concentrating on. So we'll be putting together a summary of that. We'll have the public opinion survey, which will run from today through the middle of September. Our flyovers, field work this summer, will just go on all summer. Public information meeting in November or so, and then the final report in December or January. So, any questions from the commissioners? Yeah, Joe.
How are you going to distinguish when you're collecting information about the location of the cell phones? If there's 5 people in the boat, how does that work out?
Well, I'm going to find that out specifically, Joe, but I believe it just appears as a blob. But we're hoping that we can tie it to that map. We're hoping we can tie it right to that map. Hey, Justin, can you get that?
Yeah, I'm not sure.
I don't know. I'm sure I did it wrong. But what we'd like to do is tie it to the grid that's already been created, so we can we can see exactly what happens. And so like one of the steamboats, obviously there's going to be 200 people on it, and I'm not sure how that.
I was also thinking like Sandy Bay where you have boats are, all next to each other.
Yes.
Difficult to sort them out.
Yes. Well, we're going to figure that out. And so, if that's a problem, then we may not use this technology. We'll just have to see. We have a meeting next week. Yeah.
Maybe perhaps, staying on the phone subject, what would be interesting to our voters is, are there any dead zones on the lake? There are. I've been on the lake for 2 years, so there's still a lot of it.
It may show that, but I also read on the website that it'll use a catch-up service so that if there's no cell service for however many minutes, or if it's a dead zone, as you say, it will pick it up through a different venue technology later and then fill in the data. I don't know how they do that, but they do. I mean, it's really quite something. And this Zartico data may also be useful to the Park Commission for other things. And so I know Dave is thinking about that, how it could be useful in other ways. As Gina had mentioned, Gina, would you like to just give them an idea of how it worked for the Chamber for the Winter Dream?
Yeah, it's really, it's data that we buy through the Convention and Visitors Bureau, because we can look at visitor profile, we can see movement all around the county. We can see recreational use as a point of interest. So in looking at that, we're going to want that map in anticipation when we meet with Zartico, but they will do it as an activation. So what will happen to the question about the if there's 5 devices on a boat, those 5 dots will show in one area, but when you bring it out, it's almost like then you can see, there's 10 boats in Sandy Bay. You know what I mean? Like, it'd be like zooming in or zooming out. But the goal will be that, and I'm looking at this because other destinations have used this same technology to show traffic. You know how we just had a fireman's parade. We could see where everybody parked, but then how did we block the traffic and how did it get diverted, and how can we reuse it to maybe redo the traffic plan for triathlons or something like that. So this is kind of the same thing. We want to show where did the boats come from as they moved across the lake, and then where did they stay stationary, and then where did they go from there. So I think we're going to be able to see all of that. And I think we will have that meeting not only internally but also with Zartico to say, do we want to look at this from a 4-day? Will they tell us, is this a 3 or a 4-day, or is it, from not starting tomorrow, but or today through all of September 25th? We might want to choose. I don't know if it'll be like a month long or a 4-day, or I don't know that yet because we haven't dove directly into that. At the time when we had spoken about this, Dave was looking to buy his own mobile data, and I said, wait, we already buy it. So let's use what we already have that's already being purchased for our destination.
So they'd be able to timestamp when they take a sample.
Correct. Be really helpful for us.
No.
So more news to come on that.
Gina, can you add, Tracy noted something about Winter's Dream and how it worked for us in the Winter's Dream product to see where everybody went.
Yeah, so what we showed for that was not only when they came to the fort, the physical fort for Winter's Dream, where they came from and where they went to after. So we were able to show that activation, and that's what we're trying to do again here. And that was over time. It wasn't just, if you think about a graph that might have at the bottom, let's say July 1st, July 2nd, July 3rd, July 4th. So we might be able to see on July 1st we had this, July 2nd we had that, July 3rd we had that. That's what I'm hoping for. But that will be more internal, what the recommendations and the needs are from Tracy and from Dave, and how Zartico will do that for us. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so it's an interesting potential use of new way of collecting data, just put it that way. There's nothing better than going out there and counting votes, frankly, from my point of view. It's really rather fun. So I hate to see that taken away completely, not to mention growing up in a helicopter. Right? Any other questions from the commissioners? How about the public?
Questions or comments?
Comments, fine. Yeah.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. My name is Rich Watkins. First off, thanks for the opportunity to speak to you. Thank you for all the work you do helping the lake. We certainly all appreciate it. Specifically, for this survey, I'd like to suggest that one of the things you may want to look at, rather than just what kind of boat and where the boat is and how concentrated they are, is it a through transom exhaust boat? We have a lot of noise issues on this lake. I think everyone that's been on the lake can hear that it can be quite raucous on occasion, and more than just an occasion, quite often. I would just like to point out something I looked at on the Lake George Park Commission survey, on your website yesterday, about things you do. In 2021, there were 14 noise tests. In 2022, there were 2 noise tests. I'm certain there were more noisy boats on the lake than 2. Appearance tickets in 2022, 1. I could have pointed out more than 1 boat that was extremely loud last summer. In any event, to this point, for your survey, I would suggest that as the boats are being surveyed, and we discussed this briefly, it's a simple thing to look at the stern and see if it has a through transom exhaust. You knock it down as a category. If there are 1,000 boats on the lake on Saturday and they're all quiet, it's quite a different lake than if there are 1,000 boats and 500 are noisy. It changes the character of the lake. And I believe people are beginning to not want to be here because it's so hectic and so noisy. In any event, that's my 2 cents worth. I hope you'll add some sort of information into this survey so that you can get a better understanding of how the noise versus the number of boats is impacting the lake's character. Thank you.
And I think the survey, if my memory serves me correctly, does have a place where a question that asks, did you have a time when you did not want to be on Lake George because of these reasons? And one of them is noise, not specifically height, but one of them is noise. And did you decide to boat a different day or different time of day or not at all, where you completely gave up and went home? So I think we may have captured part of that in this survey. And of course, at the very end of the survey, there is a comment section where you can openly comment, and where we will collect these, and I will likely use AI to organize them, and so that we can see how many comments were generated on different topics. How about other comments?
Well, I can attest to yesterday I was on the lake for just 3 hours, and I am pretty sure I saw 4 different noisy boats.
Absolutely.
And that was just yesterday afternoon.
Yes, no one was around. Last weekend, madhouse. I can't tell you how many times I've had to stop a conversation for an egregiously loud boat to stop. Either drive by, or worse, idle by, taking all day to sit there making noise. And it's changed the lake. I've been here 66 years. My family's had a camp since 1903. It's changing. And in fact, versus septics and real pollution and mercury, noise is a simple thing to fix. You enforce the regulation you have for 86 decibels. That's a start. I would also suggest that since you're looking at invasive species, at every boat that's launched, why not take the opportunity to test for noise then? I know one of the problems is that on the lake it's difficult, it's a tough thing to do, boats are floating around. If you have a through transom exhaust, check and see if it's under 86 decibels before it's launched. Save the Lake George Park Commission Patrol guys a lot of trouble chasing them down, and save all the people who live there the hurt to their ears. It's that simple. Thank you.
All right, thank you for listening, and I hope that you take the survey. You have that opportunity right in front of you with your posters, and so that we'll have at least 10 or 12 come back. Last time we did this 10 years ago, we had 1,000. So I'm hoping for more than that because we're going to distribute these posters wider, and we have email now. We've got email. And we've got social networking. So I think the word will go out there. And if people do have strong feelings about Lake George, they're going to respond. So I'm looking forward to that. And you'll start seeing it out there, out and about. You might get duplicates. And remember that if you use your email to, whatever email you use to respond to the survey, you get one shot. They do not allow you to come back in. They say, thank you for taking our survey. You already did this. So keep that in mind. But everybody has more than one email if you have other people who don't have a cell phone. But just keep that in mind.
Tracy, one question. Will your data or the survey or some part of this research pick up on the increasing population of wake boats on the lake? Is there some sort of question about the type of boating that people are doing? Because wake boats are, I think, contributing to some shoreline erosion issues. And other lakes too. So I'm just curious if this survey will have some sort of mechanism to pick up whether we've seen an increase. There's a perceived increase, but I don't know if that's a real increase in wake boats.
I'll talk to Dave about that.
That info would come from the dealer, if they want it. How many, sold 100 boats, how many boats?
Yeah, wake boats are the most popular right now that I've heard from the marina owners, sellers of boats. Good question. I'll speak with Dave about it. On the survey itself, I can always add something. It's harder to take it away.
Well, I wasn't sure if it was part of the survey or maybe just part of your data collection outside the survey.
Okay, good. Yes, we'll talk about exactly what that question would be. Because if you ask somebody, do you have a wake boat? I don't know if they would know what that is. There must be something specific. Right? Is that right?
Yeah.
Wake boats include a ballast tank, so
Yeah.
you can make it heavier to increase the size of the wave.
Right. They purposely increase the size of the wave so you can surf on it, but that also contributes to a considerable amount of shoreline erosion.
So those boats could come with that equipment, or you could equip and hold
No,
it.
they would have to come with. It would be designed that way.
Okay. All right, so thank you. That we'll look into that.
Okay.
See what we
Thanks.
And Tracy, I would also think that when people are taking the survey and putting down what they've seen and observed on the lake, that if they would definitely, I would think they would definitely mention the fact that there are wake boats going across our beachfront, our shoreline, in our bay, and increase of these. They may even say how many times they go out. And I think there are some bays on the lake that, they teach wakeboarding. They take people out, so it's a business, and you will probably hear from those people too that live in those bays. So I think that the frequency of using them will be also brought up in the survey, but that won't be how many there are.
Right.
I think there's a large problem also, because I believe that some, not all, have the ability to pump water from the body of water into sort of holding things, ballast things. That means they have the ability to pump out of it.
Yeah, is that being checked during?
Yeah, we checked that.
You do?
I'm just, do we have any inspection issues on that?
So it's standard practice when a wakeboard boat comes in that we check the ballast tanks, and we have a system for pumping hot water into those tanks, and we let it heat soak in the tank. We pump it out, but we don't have in our data collection, we don't specify to that level of detail what type of boat it is. So we, is it a PWC sailboat or a motorboat? Right, so motorboat would be as specific as we get in that case.
So, Carrie, can't you put in the question that if you're using your boat for water skiing or wakeboard. So that's where you pick it up.
Water skiing might be a little too generic. I think you'd have to specifically say wake surfing.
Right.
Wake surfing?
Wake
Yeah,
surfing.
because they also call it a surf boat, not just a wake boat.
Okay, all right. So we want to get our language correct, and we'll take a day or so to do that, and I can add it to the survey without changing the survey. So that's good. All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Item number 6 on our agenda is we want to talk about our ongoing and recent commission project updates. And I believe David.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm going to ask my staff to jump in here and there with a couple of things that are going on, so all of our commissioners can make it out of the project. From Albany through the Networks program, it's been very helpful in getting the commission to be whole from an infrastructure standpoint, business standpoint, and some projects. So we're just going to literally put this together in 15 minutes of just pictures. So, just a couple things that we have going on. This is a nice picture of my camper trip last week. So one project we just finished with, it's not Putnam. Gary Treadway is the highway superintendent up there. Randy's actually been working with them on and off for a couple of years. And we've been talking about the idea of taking this as the end of Black Point Road. It starts up in Ticonderoga, goes past Walt's house, comes down, and ends up in Lake George. Stops at Randy Raffles' house, and it just kind of basically stormwater flows through a few houses and ends up in the lake. So it's a drainage problem for them, it's a water quality problem for us. So we're able to work with the town of Putnam and Washington County Soil and Water Conservation District and the commission, and we were able to fund half the cost of this project. We came up with the design. It's the same exact project that I did years ago when I was in Soil and Water down on School Street, right next to Adirondack Brewery. Idea is just to get stormwater into the ground, and then the soil actually remove phosphorus and nitrogen, kind of any bacteria that might be coming out. And so the town hired Morrissey Construction. Like Morrissey, we did a bunch of projects with years ago, like with the best in the business at doing these stormwater projects. Very simple design. On the left-hand side, coming down the road, down here, we installed a drop inlet with an 18-inch sump at the bottom to catch any sediment, and then there's a cross pipe that comes over. There's another drywall on here. If that drywall fills up, which it will in any rainstorm event, it just flows down. This is all going to be completely repaved. Goes in the first drywall, the second drywall, the third drywall. So under our math, there should be no water that ever comes out of the system based on the size of the below. That will completely eliminate any stormwater causing problems with community and the world, and also the total project costs about $18,000. Washington County Soil and Water is putting in 10 for a little road program that they have, and we're putting in another $8,000, and the town did all of the hauling and all the labor work for it. It's a great kind of improvement. So that just finished up last week. Just a 2-day project, and then they're going to have the paved down over the separate project, town of Hewlett's. They have 2 sewer districts, and those sewer districts are really very, very large septic systems. So if you know Hewlett's at all, that's a golf course. And if you wouldn't know it, I didn't when I started working here, that one side of the golf course, there's huge infiltration beds for their sewer district. So as opposed to having like the Lake George Village wastewater treatment plant, these are massive septic systems. So they were installed a long time ago, about 3 decades ago or so. The town had a real interest in saying, are these things working? Are they failing the groundwater? We don't really know. They're required to do some level of testing, but they wanted to do a little bit more. We have full records on this system going back into the early 1990s at the town didn't even have it. So we sat down with the new town supervisor, Charlie Gall, who's exceptional, and also Susie Shad, who's a local interested citizen that's in this program. She's been phenomenal. So we agreed that the commission would hire, this is a company called Moviro out of Queensberry, and they installed 8 monitoring wells, 2-inch diameter monitoring wells, down below where those infiltration beds are. Now Jared is an engineer on our board and worked with us to lay out where those wells would be. Charlie Ball came out during the installation, so we have 8 of these wells in the ground. This is me, Joe, and Justin doing the first water sampling out of that. So what we need to do is one last step is kind of what they call protect the wells, get the remaining set out of it. So we get cleaner samples, and then we're hoping to do this once a month. The commission will pay the cost of the samples. By the end of the year, we'll have a much better feel for exactly if these filtration beds are affecting the groundwater and then ultimately Lake George or Lake Wells that might be in the area. Another separate topic. Our lieutenant talked this morning with law enforcement about the ongoing challenge with increased kayak, stand-up paddleboards, and other crafts. Kind of, I see that picture in the audience here. She goes right on the English Brook Delta, has been noting the increase in paddlecraft that are down in the South Basin. And so we got a meeting, a couple of meetings with the village and the town, and also Patricia Dow from the Ski Boat Company. So this is when Minnehaha, and there was a TikTok challenge, of course, last year that says, hey, go on out there and touch a steamboat when it's going by. It's just stupid. What they were doing. So our lieutenant proactively last year at the request of the steamboat company was tasked with bringing in and out, escorting those ships, primarily the Minnie back in dock. The Minnie needs to come in closer to the village to meet the angle they need to because it's not very maneuverable. And so the steamboat company was thrilled with Joe's and Commission's assistance. Last fall, so we're taking a look at Tracy as to maybe what is the industries out here, maybe some regular drone imagery. Joe or Lieutenant annual boat count. I think Joe Dillon and myself counted somewhere in the range of 50 on the English Brook Delta at one point. I think our Lieutenant counted even more. So that's a lot of paddlecraft. It's in the 5-mile-an-hour zone, but there's challenges with them being too close to shore. A lot of times people aren't respectful and will kind of leave their garbage on the shore. It's just, we want to try to find a way to understand it better at first and see if we can do something. So getting back to this topic, the town and the village had offered the money to enhance marine patrol presence in the South Basin to essentially 8 hours a day have a patrol boat in this specific area just to make sure there's no safety interactions and to let people know, stay away from the bigger ships and even the smaller craft that are out there. So we're hoping this 1 year of better education will be a good thing. We did meet with every motel owner that showed up at the meeting. It was actually quite a few, the ones that rent the paddlecraft and actually have them to take out. We think they were understanding of that issue, and they are hoping to increase their education of the people that are taking that paddlecraft out. So by the end of the year, we're hoping it's going to be a better situation. Second topic again, scuba diving certification. Something that we've been kicking around that the commission is going at for a couple of years now, and we pulled the trigger on it this year. One of our marine patrol staff, this is Mike Brogan. He's arguably one of the most long-standing, top-notch, top-rated scuba divers. He's a dive master. He's a course director. He works for Kraken Scuba. He also works for us. So when we got talking about this idea, Mike would stop into Joe's office and say, "You guys ever want to get certified? I know you're always on and in the water, on the surface, because we do our snorkeling uses one to get under the water. People do other stuff themselves." So Joe and I kind of made the decision. And we got most of our technical staff. We had Ben, Joe, Mike, Justin, Randy, and myself. So we have 5 now certified scuba divers, in addition to our much more experienced scuba diver, Mike Brogan. And that's going to allow us to do a lot of things. There was an article for Tony this morning that's going to come out on Thursday that talks about the different things that we'd like to do in the lake and what we're always going to do.
first dive day is tomorrow in Harris Bay. We're going to do a fairly comprehensive water plant survey down in that area, working with Warren County Soil and Water Conservation. But it just opens us up to a lot of simple things. You can look at lake cleanup days. We can do spring and fall cleanup day, pick a day, whatever it may be. All sorts of ideas. So anybody that has ideas, focus. We Tri-Tune, for those of you that have been around the commission for a while, you know our Tri-Tune is 28 years old this year. And it's getting a little spongy, so we're keeping that in the South Basin. Now that's really a workboat. We put all our diving gear and everything else on it. This is the new one. We got this one out for full bid. Harlan North came back with a bid for a boat that will be designed, which has still a little bit out for workspace, but also now we can take out many more people, whether it's remotely, people or have more staff out there to do the jobs that we need to do. So we will have this boat for at least 20 years. This is a Bennington, that's the best warranty in the industry. Everything on the boat is warranty for 10 years, which is mental. It's fantastic. That lasts us a long time. Going back to Hewlett's. Sorry, this is kind of all over the place, but back to the beginning. Okay, so this is the sewer line that goes over Foster Brook. So for those of us that have been paying attention to water quality problems in like 30 years, this is a big one. So Foster Brook goes right under this sewer line. And it continues to have problems in big rain events where these lodges are not there anymore, but that was after one huge rain event. All these lodges are having under the sewer line, and that sewer line is about 50 feet above Lake Shore. So if these lodges happen to break that sewer line, then all of a sudden we have a huge issue. So the town wants to do something about it, we want to do something about it. So we're sitting, they've hired, they've been working with, it's not CT now, Bella. They've been working with Bella for a little while now. They do have some relatively final plans that have been able to see that the engineers have been kind of working with the town and Bella. I believe they have a fairly final set of plans. And then you guys have been briefed by Charlie Phillips, supervisor, I think, 10 months ago. And we want to have a more robust conversation with the commission as to how the commission can participate financially in making this happen. There's two of these lines on here and one, I believe, about 50 yards upstream of the school. So that'll come back to you probably in a month. Septic inspection, so this is more traditional programming. This is the third year of our septic inspection program. Joe Stanek was at our office at 7:15 this morning for some reason, and I asked him to do a little math. He ran the numbers. And this year we're ahead of last year in terms of our septic inspection. We've been 80 so far this year. Last year this time we went 69. So we're on track. This should be our largest number of septic inspections every year. And I believe according to Dave Patton, does probably 90% of our inspections. Dave's fantastic. We're running similar numbers, which is anywhere between 20 and 25% failed systems, 20-25% systems that are broken. This is an inspection I did last week. This is the inlet, this is the outlet of the septic tank, both that hole is moving on, and we can't find the leak field, which is simply what's here. So this is an incomplete inspection. But the woman was lovely, she knew something about septics, and so Naylor does a lot of pump outs and fixes. Naylor had the equipment on his truck, he put in 2 brand new baffles, he's putting 2 risers on here, so she doesn't have to pick up the lawn all the time. And then he's going to come back with very decayed, they're going to be in the area of the leach field with Dave Patton and make sure that that's functioning properly. So we do this all day, every day, from the beginning of April essentially through December. The program has been proven to be fairly important because we're finding that half of the septic systems out there are either broken or functionally failing. And the people, to their credit, we haven't had one person, to my knowledge, that has come in screaming at us that we should be doing this program. And we're seeing the value of it, and it's important. Another topic, here's Randy studying trees for hemlock woolly intelligent. So hemlock woolly intelligent is one of our more recent forest pests that has the potential to wipe out 20-40% of the forest around Lake George. It's becoming moderately established in Lake George, so what we offer as a commission is to go and survey every island on Lake George and see where it is. We expect most of the islands to be relatively uninfested. We're finding the opposite. Unfortunately, this is what it looks like. This is a picture of one of the trees that we were looking at just last week, and all of these little kind of waxy fibrous stacks are the one individual little bug that takes its proboscis into the needle and ultimately drains the tree, ultimately killing it in anywhere between 10 and 15 years. showing the two insects that we feed solely out of Hemlock Woolly Hill. They're found in the Pacific Northwest. He goes out there, gets as many as he can, comes back to his lab, grows them in mass, and then they do releases into the forest. And they have an equilibrium out in the Pacific Northwest. We don't have that here. So the hope is that as we're doing short-term treatments with chemicals for the trees, you can drill the tree and inject a chemical that's a longer-term treatment, or you can spray the bark. All of that is happening every day of the week, all along the shoreline, the east side of our Paradise Bay. That's where most of the infection is. That's happening for DPC and Cornell. While Cornell is working to grow these insects and hopefully stave off a larger challenge in the future, like if you look at any Google Smoky Mountain Hemlock, it's just the ghost town of dead hemlock. And hoping to avoid that. If we can avoid the full impact, at least it's my personal take that we should really take a strong focus on the islands. If you guys remember the blowdown last year, the mother bunch, people were very badly injured just by normal trees. If we start to have a lot of dead farms on the islands where we're scanning, it could be a real public safety hazard, and also much lesser concern is aesthetics. But this is something that I think we would have the financial resources to work with DPC and Cornell and others to at least do everything we can to protect the islands and more important developments. So we'll keep you posted on that. We should be done with the island surveys. Two docks at Green Island, so we were fortunate enough to get $350,000 out of Albany to install two new docks. One, this is Green Island maintenance facility, where Norwalk is. It's basically off to the right by the Sagamore. So this is all New York State facility right through here. So this is the boathouse where our marine patrol operates out of. So we're going to be building a new 37-foot dock here that's going to house the new DPC pumper boat for the on-lake pump house and grab houses. And then down here, we're going to be installing a much longer dock. That's the 90-footer that has been in front of you guys many times. AP Road Construction came back. This is our invitation for bids. AP Road Construction came back. You saw JB at the last meeting. And that contract is being worked out by Justin. Justin has the dubious, problematic standing of doing all of our contract and ridiculous level of purchase order work in Albany, and also running most of our field programs. So we love Justin, thank you so much. He also fixes our IT stuff. So he's been running crazy on all of this type of thing. So I said, Justin, this contract is mostly finalized? Yes.
Never the optimist.
Okay. So anyway, this is expected. Jamie's been very, very good at being patient with us. It probably won't happen in the summertime, but we'll probably get come back to construction in September. October to get it set. Farmer surveys. So this is something that we talked about. If you remember one of our meetings, we had a farmer expert from EPC come in, and so what we want to do is we're going to work with Marine Patrol, and we're just going to cordon off different areas and find out where the cormorants are kind of on a weekly basis. So our lieutenant had mentioned that on the weekends we have 8 boats out. So ideally, if they each have a sector that they're working with, then we can say, all right, at 11 o'clock every morning, just bounce around. They pretty much just hang out on the islands, bounce around, and take the population count and report it back. We're going to do a little GIS and some mapping work, and we'll be able to, at the end of the year, say, all right, we think we have a generally enough population of cormorants on the shores. The DEC thinks it's about 50. The people that call me thinks it's 1,000, which we don't really know. But, islands like this, the one that always gets called out is not an island. Everybody sees an island, and it does feel like the end of the world because it's, once the waves out that tree, it just goes to the next tree. Starting with Waltonians, working out through the Mother Bunch, then the Narrows, and now all the way down to Island. According to DEC, it's a federally protected species. They used to be able to manage them, i.e. shoot them and the eggs. That is much more control than it used to be. But most of the control comes through like Champlain. If you were at our previous meeting, he was saying, I think it's 4 motors an hour or something, in Champlain, where all of the breeding populations are. So according to DEC, we're not actually stopping. There are 0 breeding populations, 0 nests on the shore. We're going to take a little harder look this summer. And he said, if you do find any, then that will be a pretty alarm fire for DEC and make sure that the population is improved. We don't want breeding populations. So we'll keep you posted. More traditional program, milfoil harvesting started the first week of June this year. 80 commercial diving is the contract work with are actually split off to our new company, which is basically his son and nephew. But they do the same exact work, the same exact equipment, and we have 3 boats on the water. We receive daily texts from the foreman of the project, Ben. And so we're working here in this bay right now. We're on Long Island, and 2 other places in the network. But the idea is we've been managing several sites every year for years. I've been doing this for 30 years. Roger did for 20 years before me. And a lot of the sites are the same, but they've been working down. So the one good thing that we're seeing this year is that our men, Sheldon, has said, we went through the village, which normally is a really project we went through 3 or 4 days. Dog Beach, we got through in 2 days. Dog Beach, they made a project 2 years ago, and they spent an entire month there. So some of the sites are holding up pretty well, much better than they have in the past. I think they're even down to one day with that. That's exactly what we always wanted. Let's get down and make it. So we always know that hopefully it's going to cost a minimum of $100,000 to keep it in check so it doesn't blow up like it was 5 years ago. We're making progress on the site from someone named
Yeah, we have really fantastic providers back throughout the year, and they do our program, so shout out to them. The operations program. Ben does a lot of support, and together they really go back to the program, but it's running really well. That said, we always struggle to find staff for the fall inspection station. So if anybody knows anybody in the Bolton area who wants to spend the summer with inspecting boats in the resort, that's call the office and ask for that.
All right, so that's it. I did include the outreach study, which is that contract study.
We're working on it, dude.
All right. So they can't start until we have a contract, and there's no guarantee of payment until the contract purchase order is signed. But they're ready to go. Talking to Jeremy, whenever we're ready, they're ready, and we'll be together regularly. So that's kind of a high level overview, very quickly of some of the projects going on. And questions? I'm more than happy to answer.
Question, Dave.
Yeah.
On the Delgid, I've had some people that were concerned that I was, and I don't know if I asked before, but when you put the chemical in the trunk of the tree, especially on the island, we were just wondering if, I don't know, if it's taken up by the xylem, which brings it to all the needles and leaves, or does it go back down through the phloem part? Kind of remembering my biology here, back into the root system that eventually infiltrates through the dirt or the soil and goes into the lake. Are you worried about that at all?
No, so again, we're not experts in this topic, but everything that is done for treatments is DEC approved. The two systems, well, there's actually 3. There's only 2 used in Lake George. One is drilling of the tree, and you inject into the tree, and then that's actually taken up to the tree where all the branches are and the needles, and that's what kills them after they bite. The other one is the bark spray, the bark spray.
But deep stress, there were only 54 cormorants on the lake. They go from 1 place to another place. So it will be interesting to see if you come up with another number.
And I'm going not to avoid it. Determining the vote, the daily ranking.
It's not on top of you accurately repeating on the rate after you take it down. I saw one conducted in my aisle one time. I don't know what the upshot is, but again, my suggestion would be to have a standard test procedure at a designated voting session. So you know if you're going to be either way. You could put a muck on the motor. You can run the motor while it goes out of water, really. And it's so simple. It's a physical look at it. And I'm certain your folks could also be trained to just take a look under the hatch and see if it's got cutouts. Because I hear cutouts on and off all the time. And that is clearly forbidden on the lake. You cannot run if you have a cutout. I mean, it's right in the rule. So I'd say that's something we should look at. And if we could
be legally both have to test it if we want.
They do. The specification says? Okay, but it's 86 cents.
It's 90.
No, sir. 86
You go by the New York State.
Well, why? Your Lake George Park Commission rules say 86. You follow the state rules. But you made your own rules. It says 86 on your website.
There was one boat test this weekend. I think it is.
Well, that's great. I appreciate that. Well, that is odd because it's 90. You know the way the logarithmic scale is 80 decibels. 90 is 10 times as loud. So it's just the 10 is different. So 90 to 86, I'm guessing, would be 4 times as loud. If you're not following your own rules. Well, I understand that. Yet the website you produce your rules. Why is that? Please do.
When you've been on the air. You dragged them in?
Well, I certainly appreciate the efforts you make. I just think there's some low-hanging fruit. The years ago,
Take it down to the section. Thank you. Point out.
We do. We met at 9:30 with John. It was a lot of information. And first of all control boats are in the water and they're ready for summer. On Friday through Sunday, there will be 8 boats on the lake, and we're going to reach there by 6 boats. And we have a new control pickup truck that has arrived, which is pretty cool. And as far as the boater safety classes go, we've already taught 6, and a total of 88 students, and there's 1 class remaining. And I will tell you, my husband and I took the course, and it was just the best. We learned a lot. I thought I knew most everything, but you always learn something new. And the Ray and the other patrol guys that were there, Marine patrol officers, they were a little bit of recommend it for everybody. The full summer patrol starts this Saturday, and I want you to know that Joe told us, as you know from the PowerPoint, we have a kayak issue on the lake, near the village, and that Lake George Village and Lake George Town gave $5,000 to enhance the full budget so we can address this issue and keep a boat around T Island south to the village to patrol that end of the lake to make sure the big boats have a clear path to navigate. And we've got an outreach to all the hotels, and everybody is on it. And there will be also a jet ski patrol on weekends around Kennesaw Bay and the other days that are and two part-time officers are now full-time because of this new the new patrolling. It's really good. So on June 12th, there was a very intensive training with the National Guard, and that took place in the
Item number 9, public comment. Would you like him to go further? Hi there.
Hi, Dave Hart. Once you've seen me here before, but just another reminder, UV sleeves, I do appreciate there's a couple of community outreach things. I think the LGA had something in the email regarding reminder of UV systems for people. Again, like this is, I didn't save this. I just, a couple days ago when I was at house asking the question, have you replaced the sleeve? No. Pull it out and it's not effective. It's interesting, almost everybody on the lake that uses lake water has a UV system in. So the understanding that it's a required component of surface water is there. Out of the last 20 that I visited, only one has been better than this. So just a thing, there's just no awareness on the importance of this. And people are probably getting sick, they just don't know why. But some people could get very sick from it. We're making a little bit of progress trying to get some more, I guess, interest from the Department of Health to kind of create better messaging for it. It's common on all systems, anywhere, with well systems too, but in the lake, just because of the nature of lake water, they get dirtier quicker. So it is a problem for drinking water on the lake, and just a reminder, any organization that says Lake George is drinking water, keep it clean. I hear that all the time, but just any ability to create outreach for the community on this subject. So just here to remind you.
What does an item like that cost?
$49. That's the cost of it. I mean, this is the problem with it is replacing the bulb. Anyone can do it in seconds. You don't have to turn off the water. You take the bulb out, put a new one in. That's why it's always done. Even if they call it handyman, they call it plumber. People that aren't used to it, they don't even know this part exists. That's the problem. The primary manufacturer of these, the most dominant brand, has since changed their design. So now this is included in a bulb, and you can't change the bulb without changing it. But that's only been out a year or so. Same brand that almost everybody still uses, their older brand stuff, but they changed that because it is an ongoing problem. But it's, you need to shut the water off and take the pressure off, and then pull this out and put a new one in. Or clean it. Cleaning it works for a while. Lake George actually they clean relatively easily versus some of the other bodies of water. If it's cleaned every year, they'll go several years. If you're not cleaning it, the basic rule of thumb is replace it every 2 years. But just the organizations that have outreach, anything to get the word out to people that the UV system needs to be serviced, and the sleeve is a major part of it. And it's not effective when it has any discoloration.
Thank you. I appreciate your help.
Appreciate your time.
I'm sorry to belabor this, but I'm reading from your website. No person shall operate a vessel on the waters of Lake George which exceeds 86 decibels when measured at not less than 50 feet from the vessel being tested, or 80 decibels when measured at not less than 100 feet from the vessel being tested. It also goes on to say, measurements of decibel levels shall be taken when the subject vessel is in motion or by static test when the vessel is stationary with engine operating at not more than 3,500 RPM. I see no prohibition to doing out-of-water tests according to your own language. Is there a specific test process that is available that I can read?
Yes, we'll cover New York State navigation law.
But that would, so that would reflect the New York State, but it would not take into account your own rules of 86 decibels. That's what it sounds like to me. I mean, you're following the rules you're supposed to follow.
I just learned there's a meeting already scheduled internally on this subject.
Great.
To review it, et cetera, et cetera.
Excellent.
We really appreciate you bringing it to our attention.
Well, good. Thank you very much. It's great to hear.
That's what you're here for. That's what you're here for. Sir.
Just a comment on the UV system, real easy.
Step to the mic, please.
Oh, I'm sorry. Name, Fred Alexi, I live on Cleverdale, and I have that particular UV system, a real easy resolution. High acidic vinegar, a couple drops, swish it around, it would clean that in a heartbeat. Or a Delimer, which is used on the commercial side, cleans it 10 seconds, approximately. You don't have to buy a new one.
Thank you for that information.
What is high acidic vinegar?
Vinegar is created by, if you look on the bottle of gallon of vinegar, about 3, 4, 5% of vinegar is basically acid. And the higher the acid, the more acidic it is, I guess. And Lowe's used to sell like a 15%. Your household vinegar is probably about between either 4 or 5% level of acid.
So you can get a 15%?
You can. Well, Lowe's used to stock it, but you can still buy it. And you can buy it probably as high as 50%. But I've never seen that only commercial applications. Like guys, like somebody like Oscars would use it to make corned beef.
I had no idea.
But it's very, I mean,
acid.
I've never used like a household vinegar, but you can buy a Delimer. It's called like Lime Away. We take the calcium. That's basically a building minerals and calcium. A little bit of that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Really.
Yeah.
Good morning. My name's Kitty Rooney, and I live on Lockley Lane, Lake George. And I was sent here by my neighbors to read this statement. Dave has already addressed some of this, but since they sent me here to read it, I better read it. And this pertains to the Southern Basin and the kayaks and motorboats in the area. English Brook Delta needs better navigational markers, buoys. Motorboats, oftentimes rental boats, sometimes not, frequently run aground on the Delta. On nice days, most weekend days, and summer fireworks evenings, the area around English Brook Delta is congested with kayaks and motorboats mooring, drinking, standing around, socializing in the shallow water. Some motorboats tie onto the buoys, and many recreate within 200 feet from the property shoreline. The rules stating, and I quote, "No recreating within 200 feet from private property is allowed," is simply not enforced. This is a public safety risk because of the shallow water and poor navigational markings. It has resulted in trash washing up and piling up onto the private shoreline. It has also resulted in trespassing onto our private property. It would be helpful, most helpful, to have a public policy to address the problem and public safety risk.
Thank you. The problem is how much
prior to that,
months ago, I addressed the Park Commission letter the black to the docks in we watched the one start at 6 and up to 7 thereabouts. And disintegrating, dilapidated docks, beams that are loosened by combination wave action and or ice moving from the winter. That creates a major hazard, not only for us skiing, but I had a buddy a couple of years ago lost 2 lower units off a 36-foot sea rig by a loose beam up by Basin Bay. I don't know if it's the Park Commission responsibility to monitor and enforce some type of legislation or something, but it's going to be a major hazard, and it's not the docks that I know of on my side of Cleverdale. It's blatant. Half the docks are missing, and I sent a photo to Mr. Wick earlier in the season with about a 8-foot, either 6x6 or 8x8. 2 spikes sticking out, floating in the middle of the lake. It was a problem. I would like to have it addressed, but I know if the Park Commission is the wrong venue or agency to address, direct me to the people that would take care of the problem. Thank you.
Thank you. Get there, navigation center. Where?
yes, we set up 2 violations and contact control activities in that area.
I know my folks like early in the year, I dragged in one timber with jackline on it. I don't know what I do with my phone.
Typically, you are in contact with the PPC Island folks and give them their description of what you saw and where it is. They'll usually send a crew out to get it pretty quickly.
DEC?
Yeah, DEC at the island.
We kind of, the answer is we just have to know about it.
Appreciate the response.
Back in our last business meeting this morning, there were 2 items of discussion that involved it's an ongoing problem. Here yesterday, today. Okay. Anyone public comment? I'll take another comment. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate it.
I'll send